What's happening, folks out there? Podcasting live to you and yours. It's your boy, Too Tall for You Fool, aka Justin Reed, or Justin Reed, aka Too Tall for You Fool. And you are listening or watching another episode of the Game & Watch podcast. This is episode number 73. I am joined by my fellow colleagues, my co-host. First up, Matt, the educator. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not sure you got the emphasis on the right syllable in the word there, but I'll take it again.
Matt, the educator.
Doing well though. Thanks for asking.
That's good. And then, of course, my main man, the F-man, OVG RView Gaming himself, Finest Dabs. What's going on, man?
I've been sick all week. So,
Are you serious?
Yeah, kids, they get you sick. They are just a festering pile of germs, and that's all they really are. But I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot better tonight. Glad to be here. This whole what's it called? Like naming Matt and giving him a nickname has been an ongoing process for like 4 months now. And
I'm making it a problem though, because I keep saying it's not quite what I wanted, but I'll take it.
Yeah, we all know what we don't want, but when it comes to what we do want, it's like, it really doesn't matter until I hear what I don't want. And then it's like, then it matters.
And look, I'll tell you, I am one of those grammar Nazis that's around there. So a little peek behind the curtain for the audience. In the show notes, Too Tall has actually put me down as the educator, as in THA.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, no disrespect at all. Like, I absolutely love where you're going with it, but it triggers me bad, man. Like, I want to correct it so much. So when you don't have edit open.
When you see the Game & Watch podcast, you're probably like, they did the N and not like and or anything else. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Look, I'm taking my own initiative on that. You'll see that I'm starting to talk more about this podcast on Twitter. I'm doing my own punctuation there. Like, it makes it hard to find, but at the very least, I think Google's smart enough to figure that stuff out, right?
Well, we dropped apostrophe, so it should be a little easier to find.
Oh yeah, that apostrophe was killing us in the beginning.
Yeah,
Nobody can find us. It was like, you
yeah,
gotta put the apostrophe, and yeah.
yeah. I've dropped it just about in just about all our social media outlets. So for the most part, and even like the whole podling thing, it's just yeah, it should be gone. Maybe there's a few other places I got to go remove it from, but for the most part, we've dropped it. And as for the A instead of E in the Matt, it's just like it's just like a I guess mainly like American thing, maybe American hip hop or something like that. Like the Godfather or Dogfather or something like that.
I
Stop!
completely get
You're
it.
triggering. You're triggering him right now. Look, you see that eyeball? You see how close it got? Oh man.
Yeah. For the audio listeners, I'm playing around with the zoom on my webcam, which I discovered only recently, and it makes for a much more visual, enjoyable podcast. So make sure you're jumping over to YouTube and having a look at that. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
Well, I,
here
I
we are
do.
back again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do love the fact that we've gone video now instead of just doing audio. I think it brings a lot more character to the whole show. I mean, I
And what
was
show
kind of
is that?
the Game In Watch podcast, not Game and Watch, Game In,
Game
because
and
we
Watch.
gaming,
Yeah,
yeah,
but not game in all one word. It's game,
in.
GAME, and then the letter N, and then yeah, watch. Yeah,
Before building on this too much, it's also not as in Neil Gaiman, the writer of American Gods. Game and
yeah. I'm sure people are watching this episode or listening. They already know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
unless they haven't left already. Grammar Nazis. Let me know if I need to tell these guys how to spell these words. Get in touch
No,
on Twitter.
no, no. I was actually pretty decent in
Cheers.
school when it came to my English class. All right, just a quick reminder, folks, that the Game and Watch podcast is an RView gaming or OVG production. For your viewing pleasure, we stream on Facebook Live, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. For your listening pleasure, we're on all listening platforms wherever you are listening. That's where we are. If you want to jump to another one, say you're listening on Spotify, but then you want to go to Apple Podcasts, we're there. So we're just about everywhere for your listening pleasure. And we also have a Patreon. Anything donated to our Patreon will make this a better show for all of us. So, definitely support us there. And, we have a lot of good things coming this year. Month of January is just about in the books. Looking forward to February with the amount of games, like you said in one of our earlier episodes, Matt, that February is just January was an appetizer leading into February for the games, but we'll get into all that a bit later on. But beyond that, besides you being sick and just overall, just how y'all's week's been, just I want to know.
I don't know if any of my coworkers watch this episode, but it doesn't really matter. Work has been a bitch. Just like like real talk. Like we have all these goals set for the new year. Higher expectations, higher goals, higher forecast, and like they're not hiring more people. And it's ridiculous. Like they're hiring people, but they're taking their sweet time. But they've already started. Like they're like, hey, we need to hit these goals. So we're gonna have you do more work, and we're gonna have the one other person that you like work with do more work in order to facilitate meeting these goals. And it means more work. And it's just like we're already swamped. And then I asked if I can work overtime to accomplish some of this. And it's like, no, you can't work overtime. It's like you can't like have your cake and eat it too. It's just so annoying. So
Really?
for the month of January, we did reach our goals though. So that's a good note. But
That's a thumbs up.
they're going to expect that for February too, which we're going to have a talk. So management, if you're watching, we're going to have a talk.
It's a double-edged sword with those kinds of situations, though. Like they set the expectations high before they have the resources to meet the demand, and they set the expectations that demand will be met. You meet it, and then they figure, well, maybe we can save on these resources because our current resources can already do that.
Oh yeah.
And you as a worker, you don't want to be pulled up and told that you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to take a stance and say, well, this is too much. So I'm not going to do as much as you want me to.
It's been a rough week. Yeah.
Unless they pay you more, of course.
Oh, no. No money's going anywhere that they don't expect to. Anyway, that's to say that I commiserate with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. How about you guys? Jay, how about you?
Work has been fine. I mean, I got through this week, so No complaints there. Just been fooling around with some backgrounds for my Twitch streams. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at the background right now.
Oh, you like this, huh? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I mean, mine's not gonna be like any. Well, maybe I could probably do something like that later on. But I just want a better background for like just my OBS whenever I'm streaming like a game or so. I should actually probably stream a game for our viewers one of these days, like to just share my screen and just stream a quick
They're
game.
asking for it, man. My email's been blowing up. They're like, "Hey, tell Too Tall to stream some games." So make it happen. Make it happen, brother. They're waiting for it. We actually do
Alright.
talk about video games on this podcast too, just for anyone watching or listening.
Mhm.
But we're getting there.
All right, but otherwise, yeah, just fooling around with that, and then for the most part, family's been good. We're doing this on Saturday night again because, as you know, Finest, it's football season.
It is. Thank God. I was so mad that we were filming or recording during during the Rams game last week. I was just like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I got to it in the third quarter, so it was
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Same here. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I mean, I know there's other people that want to be on the show tonight, but you gotta understand. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Sunday afternoon, I just couldn't do it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. So yeah, just
football season's almost over. It's only what, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so expect a few more Saturday shows, folks. So just bear with us. And Matt, how you been, man? Besides correcting people's grammar and all that good.
You've offended Justin. Oh my gosh. He came back
Perfectly
around.
fine. Look, that is the mantle of the grammar Nazi. You must be equally ready to observe criticism as much as you're willing to deal it out.
Very nice.
That's
I
the
love
nature
that.
of that deal.
Of course.
I correct a lot more than that, though, mostly technology stuff, and work's been all right this week. Mostly for me, it's about getting podcast stuff off the ground because it seems to be a refreshed podcast season. And me bringing back the Teaching Culture Cast again after a quick hiatus. For anyone listening who may not know, I run an Australian teaching podcast, but it's relevant for everybody. And the most recent episode 9, went up this morning at
Right
6
on.
a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So if you're keen to check it out, definitely look it up, teachingculturecast.com. I'm also might be looking at doing a couple of other podcasts in the wings as well, mostly related around video games. So just trying to expand a little bit in that sense. But as those things come up, my time goes down. So,
Yeah,
video
what happened
games.
to your New Year's resolution?
What was that resolution? I've completely forgotten
Less
it.
podcast or something? I don't know.
Oh
I could
yeah,
be
it was
wrong.
going to be
More
the year of
focused.
less, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, I refined that a little bit. It's not going to be the year of less, but it's
Okay.
the year of intention.
Intention. Okay.
Because something as a nature of my work is that I am someone that people go to for stuff. And sometimes it might be because they actually need that thing, or sometimes it's because they can't be asked going somewhere else to find it themselves. Learned helplessness, as it were. So with intentionality, I'm intentionally spending my time in places that I would want to, that will provide value for the things that I want to accomplish. So providing value is spending 3 p.m. on a Sunday, Australian time, dedicating time to this podcast, whereas I may be doing some work on other podcasts, but no, intentionally on this thing. And sometimes it means turning away other people, but that's perfectly fine. So management of my time, that's the resolution for me. Not necessarily less, just as much, but, keeping things in perspective. So I'm accomplishing that at the moment. Bit hard with what is upcoming for all of us in the realm of video games. With
Oh yeah,
Oh,
video
yeah.
games. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I
Let's
want to
talk
talk
about
about games. Yeah,
All
there
right.
we go.
Yeah, for sure. We will be talking some Switch. Guess what? It's in the top 5 of all time, the Nintendo Switch, and we're going to be talking about the metaverse, what it is. Are we in it now? More to come on that later. But first, let's get into some games. You want to talk some games? So, Call of Duty. Next 3 games will still be on the PlayStation platform, despite Microsoft's deal with Activision. And you know what that means? If you're a PlayStation fanboy who does not want to, go out and get an Xbox, you are good for at least the next 3 years, rest of this year, year after, and the year after that. So I guess that's when the contract runs out. I gotta know is what's Microsoft going to do once this deal expires, assuming that the deal goes through.
This is the interesting crux of that acquisition that people are thinking about at the moment, right? And we might have covered it a little bit last week in the acquisition episode, but it's ultimately going to be whether the driving value force for Microsoft is to try and bring people into their platform in order to keep them there, or whether it's about making revenue and providing it across consoles. And that's the Game Pass argument too. Like making Game Pass available on other platforms is going to tie into that directly as well. But they got a lot of wiggle room here. 3 games, potentially 3, maybe with a few delays, could be up to 3.5 years, just to figure out what future contracts look like. I think that's just enough wiggle room for them to figure out where things sit.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, we'll definitely see. I mean, I know Call of Duty is arguably like the best first-person shooter out there right now, and with the way Halo Infinite has been doing so far, I mean, could you see them like putting out a Call of Duty game every year? Could you see them, maybe every other year with that? Do you think the frequency of Call of Duty games coming out each and every year is going to go down, or do you think it's still going to stay go to every other year? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean that's going to happen by nature because I mean if you look at what Phil Spencer's been posting, and just commenting on, he's been talking about in terms of what the companies are looking for. He wants to stop the cadence of a every year Call of Duty. He wants to he wants to speak to developers and allow them to really hone in on what games they want to make and what games they want to develop for, and what other video games that they can dive into from the history. I mean, like Activision Blizzard, like they have like such a wide and deep history within the video game market. So I mean, there's so many games. Like I know he was talking about Hexen. They have Spyro. There's Blinks. There's Crash Bandicoot now. There's going to be Tony Hawk. There's just so much. There's so much there for them to dive into. So honestly, if they like slow down the cadence and allow the developers to focus on other games, it's going to give Call of Duty room to breathe, and actually like them, instead of like incremental small changes and really build up that game, it's going to be, they're going to be able to sit back and really think about like solid ways to improve and really think of ways to just create Call of Duty and make it more just fresher for the wider audience is what I'm trying to say. But yeah.
Yeah, well,
so it's worth pointing out here that the 3 games that are currently in the contract are the next one from Treyarch, the one after that from Infinity Ward, because they're obviously the 2 studios that bounce those yearly versions between each other, and then apparently a refresh of the current Warzone Battle Royale format. So depending on what the studios feel about that and the kind of money that would be coming in, the resources available to develop them, that could impact it as well.
Yeah, I would like to see these studios work on other games, and maybe like every other year we see a Call of Duty game come out, because I mean the frequency of it is just really. Sorry, Matt, you're just like big white on the screen, but yeah. But the frequency of the Call of Duty games, I mean, I feel like the quality one year is great, and then next year it's just like I don't want to touch it. I'm a big fan of the Black Ops series. I don't think they can really ever go wrong with those, in my opinion. I mean, we'll see if they put out another Black Ops game before this contract runs out, or maybe they make it more fresher. But I would like to see some of these studios work on other games, because Activision has a lot of properties, and I mean, I know Call of Duty is is the main moneymaker, but I feel you don't need to put one out every year. I mean, even though people will buy it, but I mean, if it's not a good game, people will let you know, even if they put their money into it.
Look, Assassin's Creed has proved that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Took a bit of a break, refresh the series, and created a product that people are willing to go back to that definitely isn't a recursion of the previous games. But the difficulty with that for something like Call of Duty is that the format of the game is very difficult to innovate with.
Mm-hmm.
And lest I use a better word, I may be triggering the COD fans in the audience as well listening, because there are going to be intricacies within that game that can see improvements, that could do with changes, and it could be as deep and detailed as microtransactions, all the way into the feel or type of the guns, or even the setting, the time period that they pick, which they seem to be playing with now. But it seems like it's going to be a little bit more difficult to innovate with the first-person shooter, especially with the legacy this one has set.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think in terms of like what they've been trying to do, I think they have been, trying to be like innovative in a lot of aspects. But just refining that and like slowing down the pace, I think is just going to be tremendous for them as a company. And yeah, but what I'm really curious in is just PlayStation. Because very much Phil Spencer's quote last week just really spoke to like, is their intent is, really gonna, allow for, the intent is to bring these games to PlayStation. But that's like very, like reading between those lines, like I was saying last week, is just gonna be very much like the intent is that, but like the intent is that because, they need PlayStation to play ball. So what's that mean for PlayStation?
Game Pass on the PlayStation platform.
I honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. But I did mention that last week also. But I think it's just going to be very much it's going to be a financial decision, that PlayStation is going to have to make. So it's going to cost PlayStation something, and what that means is it's going to be another contract, but it's going to be directly with Microsoft, and Microsoft is not going to lose money off of COD. But
hell no.
PlayStation need it. I don't, as of right now, like PlayStation is still the number one console manufacturer, above Xbox and above Microsoft. So and then Tencent's number two. So and very much Microsoft is number three. And I'm talking about numbers here, like in terms of what they're selling. So should we even be looking at them, or should we be looking at like Tencent? Because they have more developers than Xbox does.
They've also got like a little bit in their catalog already. Like PUBG is in the Tencent catalog at the moment. But I think it's interesting to think about the idea of balancing the cost, that maybe PlayStation will look at the idea of getting Game Pass and how much that will cost them to not have the games on the platform in the way they want, or whether they lean into their strength, which is what everybody has been talking about this week, create a first-party developed title for PlayStation that's a first-person shooter that can be branded through them. All of a sudden, instead of trying to make a deal with someone who's strong-arming into the majority of the market for the industry, do a Kojima on it. Pick out a few key people from the industry that might be able to do it for PlayStation.
We've already had that, though. We've had that with Resistance. We've had that with Killzone, and look where those have both ended up in PlayStation graveyards.
And look, the argument against that is the name. People know what Call of Duty is. Yeah. You try to fill it with a different kind of name, then maybe it falls on deaf ears. But it's worth considering for them.
Well, I'm going to come out of left field. I'm going to talk baseball for a minute. The show, the PlayStation exclusive MLB baseball game last year, it was finally on Microsoft. Do you see something similar like that happening with the Call of Duty games? I mean, I never thought I'd see the show go to Microsoft. I thought they would be just stuck with RBI baseball.
I think we need to start thinking about less with the third parties who make deals with publishers that make deals with consoles, and think more about the consoles starting to control the market, because like we are just rabbiting off all the things as part of this acquisition now, right? The whole antitrust thing about Microsoft potentially making a move to monopolize the gaming market, those conversations are going to start going higher and higher and higher up. And it's not going to be happening necessarily with your Devolver Digitals, with your Annapurnas. It's probably going to happen more often with your Microsoft representative who exists as part of Activision Blizzard as a publisher, or Sony PlayStation with whichever publishers are under their purview, or developers even, Guerrilla Games under PlayStation. Like, there's going to be a bunch of different SKUs for the conversation now because the market is starting to change. And MLB The Show might have been just one of those really weird things, which I know at the time it was released, it was weird. Like, people went, what?
Yeah,
Why is this on my console? I mean,
like
I love
said,
it.
It was out of
but-
left field.
Yeah, they threw a long ball. Didn't exactly hit a homer, but, people were surprised and happy to watch the game. So, yeah, it's going to be, I think conversations will change. When that acquisition goes through midway next year, all things permitting, it's going to be an interesting time.
But
A time
just
to
wait.
keep an eye on the game devs.
With MLB The Show, just notating this real quick. I mean, that was they threatened to pull the contract from PlayStation if PlayStation didn't allow it to be on Xbox. So PlayStation didn't have an opportunity. There was like, do we pull like the number one baseball game there is from our system, or do we allow it to be on both, or just lose it altogether? So no, I don't see that happening often unless studios or publishers threaten to pull contracts and potentially PlayStation can lose even more money. So I don't see that happening. But and I don't see Game Pass, last point for me, coming to it is because of things like that. There's already these games that are kind of double dipped, like you already see them on PlayStation Plus, you already see them on PlayStation and their offerings, and then you see them on Game Pass also. And you would basically like cancel out that entire third-party market, not the entire third party, but a large portion of that third-party market that PlayStation makes money off of if they allowed Game Pass to come to their system. In addition to, any first part, like, I mean, obviously first parties are going to be like exclusive to the system. So yeah, it'd be awesome to play Halo on my PlayStation, but for that third-party market, which is such a big piece of Game Pass and such a big piece of PlayStation Plus, it doesn't, I mean, to me, looking at it, it doesn't make sense.
Well, we're definitely going to stick with Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard for a little while, for a little bit longer. They do not recognize the Gamer Workers Alliance Union that has been set up by a group of 34 workers at Raven Software. Pretty much a quote from a spokesperson who talked to Polygon said, "At Activision Blizzard, we deeply respect the rights of all employees to make their own decisions about whether or not to join a union. We carefully reviewed and considered the CWA initial request last week and tried to find mutually acceptable solution with the CWA that would have led to an expedited election process. Unfortunately, the parties could not reach an agreement. So right now, they are not recognized as a union by Activision Blizzard. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? This is like, with all that's been going on with this company, and they don't recognize them as a union. That's kind of crazy.
Well, unionization is a complex topic at the best of times. I think this could be partly what I talked about last week as well, right? That the idea that maybe they can be the bad guys for the next 18 months and not care too much, because as soon as the acquisition goes in, the ones who are the problems, who may be initiating these unfortunate conversations and decisions, are the ones who are going to get a massive payout and jump ship as soon as they can. But it seems like that they are not running out of avenues to pursue this, because while they have not been voluntarily recognized by Activision Blizzard at large, they still have a means to pursue unionization, but it will just be a more forceful process. And look, they're doing all the right things in terms of what they're saying as responses to these things, like saying that everybody in the company should have an opportunity to have their voices heard on this stuff. You probably read between the lines and see that it's mostly lip service at that kind of stage of things. but it will be the first union of its kind in the gaming industry. And look, unionization doesn't help the gaming industry in terms of business. It's going to affect things that are problems for people who submit so much of their time to these games, because it's going to extend the amount of time that it takes to develop a game for them to recoup their losses on investments. Treating people as people apparently is a bad money-making venture. So look, they're going to resist it as much as they can. And once they set the standard, they know that Ubisoft will be the next domino to fall. EA will be another one. All the big developers, publishers that have these terrible crunch times and bad working conditions where people will be able to unionize and request more, it's going to impact their bottom line. And look, us as people, we need to support game workers who are looking to unionize because they need to be able to request better conditions. Activision Blizzard just happens to be the worst of those cases where we've seen deplorable acts at every turn. I don't think there's a time where anyone has not been surprised by the next big thing to come out of the allegations against the leadership and other people, management in Activision Blizzard. It's a big thing, but I think supporting unionization is the right move. I think that's what we should be doing, at least from, a game consumer perspective. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, all I really have to say is like the conversations are happening. That's going to be a big first step. Like Matt said, I very much agree. They could be the bad guy for the next 18 months, and then things are going to change. Whether if they ever do unionize. Sorry,
I'm glad it's not just me.
We'll see. But as far as for what Phil Spencer and what he said, he's gonna have to go in and clean house and really change the company and that culture. And I don't think Microsoft would. I don't think they would have purchased the company if they weren't confident they can do that, because they've been playing like the good guy company for quite a while now, being very just gamer focused, and in the way and the intent that they really provide their statements and really the decisions that they make, has just been all for the gamers, the workers, and so forth, and really allowing companies, at least from what we hear, to really do what they need to do within the company. What's that writing? You guys hear that? Is that you too?
Yeah, my printer is doing something. Don't mind me.
Okay.
Just quick check it. Make sure then it's not Activision Blizzard looking to cancel you somehow.
Yeah, and mute yourself. Oh my god, I just lost my point. Okay, anyway, yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's all I got, I guess.
It's tough. It's tough to talk about because as consumers, we want. It's a very consumer rights driven environment that we're in right now. The gaming population cancels games if they do the wrong thing, like maybe pay for something beyond the initial cost of the game. And us presuming that on game developers as well, with the active conversations that are currently going on, where they're not necessarily the ones who should be impacted when we choose to cancel games or not pay for them. The idea of not paying, showing your support with your wallet, that can impact the people doing the right thing and the good things, and that actually get, they suffer as a result of these bad decisions. If unionization is the path, I think us as consumers, we need to support that as much as we can. And hopefully they get all the way down the line.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Got a comment from Nesco79, my boy Norberto. How you doing tonight? He says, "Nice hats, man." So Matt, you know what that means, right? You need to find a hat.
I'm not getting a hat. I am not getting a hat.
Come on, man. I wear it all the time to work, man. You gotta represent LA Clippers, man.
But when you work from home all the time, hats are a no-no. And let me tell you, when you're in a room on a 35-degree day and it's technically like 43 degrees in here. Hats,
Celsius,
no.
of course, people.
I would hope they'd figure that out.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah,
they can't hear the Australian coming out understanding we're on opposite seasons to you lads in America.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder why. Sometimes I wonder why we didn't learn the metric system, like to just be raised on the metric
let's not
system.
go there. Okay, come on.
I was just about to say, like, trust us to move from nice hats to the metric system.
Yeah.
Thank you for the hat comment. All right, for sure. Okay, so do you guys like rumors or read about rumors? Well, there's always a lot of rumors going on in the world of video games, but
Heard a rumor about you this morning.
oh yeah. You same. I heard about rumor about you last week. No, apparently this is a rumor that keeps coming up time and time again. I know. Shout out to Mark, aka Mr. Madness, who's a frequent contributor to this podcast. But Apple is supposedly going to get into the console business. So they really. All right, so I got a couple things. I mean, if they attempt to do it, great. Hopefully, it's a better attempt than Stadia, because Stadia that didn't. Well, I mean, I guess it's still going on, but it just was presented to us as one thing, and then it just came out completely something else. And they said they were going to be the Netflix of gaming, and then it's like you got to pay for your games. So I'm a little curious to see if Apple is to get back into the console business. I mean, they did have games on, what was it, the Apple II, I believe it was. So
they try to come out with their own console too.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the Pippin?
The Pippin,
Yeah,
vaguely.
so it only released in Europe and Japan, and that was in 1996. So this is and it was a team up with like Bandai, and there was a couple other companies that also funded that venture. But yeah, the Pippin, you could look up the Pippin, Pippin. But it was a disc-based console, and it very much was supposed to come out with. It was supposed to have internet capabilities and everything, but they released it for $5.99, and which was a great price for this premium console at the time. And then they stopped manufacturing in 97. So after 1 year, the Pippin died. Yeah, 1 year.
Died.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
time, maybe.
You think it's not? Yeah, you think it's time for us to get a serious fourth competitor in the console space behind Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, or are you good with just the big three for now? I mean, Apple making a consoles. I mean, do you think it can make it? I mean, I know Amazon with the Luna also, but I mean I really do want to see like a serious fourth competitor if it does come down to it. I mean, I know it's not the 90s anymore where they had like consoles all over the place, but really the serious competitors before the PlayStation came along was pretty much the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. I mean, the 3DO, and then the Atari Jaguar or whatever. They were kind of whatever's. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, there's already competitors out there. Like you said, Stadia's out there. Google has the money. Like, do they? How much do they want to invest in bringing this alive? Like, as Microsoft has proven, it's not easy to jump into the console market when there's already established people there. Amazon, their console's out. Have you heard much about it? No. Well, what I have heard is the developers that they have bought is they keep on canceling their games. Managing a game and really developing a game is not easy. And do they want to spend that time and that focus and place it there and have a game that's unsuccessful or a game that is not widely sought after because it's Amazon exclusive? There's just so much going into that. You got to make sure it's all cloud-based. Stadia is cloud-based. So I mean, there's the market's there. There's people out there. Netflix has been they've been testing the waters. They have their mobile games or mobile S type of games through their service. Who else do we have jumping in the market? I mean, there's a ton of people that are trying. They're testing the waters, or they jumped in and they're not doing well. They're barely staying afloat. But Apple has at least the capital to really jump into this market and bring another console. Is just how hard do they want it? Like, how hard are they going to invest? And how much are they going to invest? And they're going to invest the time, the money, because it doesn't come overnight. You can't just put a console out there without the games, because games are what sell consoles. So, what are they going to bring to the table? Are they going to buy developers too? What infrastructure are they going to build to ensure that? Because if they bring a console, I mean, it really doesn't matter right now, because you can already play Apple Arcade and stuff like that, which is actually doing relatively well. But it's not, you don't see those numbers. Those numbers aren't forward facing, because the mobile market is very different than the traditional console market. But yeah.
I think there's a couple of things to point out here. First of all, that I think you guys are talking a lot about platforms and consoles together, which is where the discussion sits at the moment. Like when we talk about Netflix, when we talk about what's it called? The Nvidia one, whatever that is. Anyway,
Nvidia
like
Shield,
a Stadia,
Android TV,
cloud-based versions of this stuff, Game Pass platforms. Whereas a console is a required piece of hardware to facilitate games that are perhaps, cloud gaming. They cross over, but console necessitates the idea of hardware being a thing. And as you said, Finest, Apple has already tried to make this happen. In fact, the Apple TV has a gaming component to it to try and leverage what Apple gaming is for in the App Store. And the idea that they bring a console to the market now is interesting, because we are starting to move over to cloud gaming, that it's about having access to the internet and streaming those games into our living room or wherever we are. So is building a hardware device to facilitate games in this environment going to be the best thing for them? Or do they leverage the services they currently have to try and do what every currently existing console has tried to do, and create a device that's built for streaming games, and that's it? Or digital distribution of games? Because Xbox and PlayStation 5, they both currently have a discless version, which is a little bit cheaper, but gamers want discs. A lot of them do, because they want access to that third-party market. But if Apple wanted to jump in head first with all of their capital, and I think they're the only ones who would be able to do it, and create a box that will facilitate cloud gaming in a great way, and in a story we're going to talk about a little bit later on, we'll be discussing the pros and cons of cloud gaming and why it's necessary to have quite a lot of money up front to create an experience that's worth cloud gaming being sold to people, and it's going to be something that they want. Apple's going to be the one who can do it. But we need to remember too, these rumors have been around for ages, very long time. And of course, they're going to resurface again when a big chunk of the gaming market shifts across to a single console. Maybe we need to start looking at the antitrust stuff again. Maybe they'll start throwing extra people to try and break up the monopoly a little bit. All these conversations start to emerge. So if you are asking for my opinion about whether Apple will make a console, let's see the car and the TV first, like the actual Apple TV that they talked about, that are meant to currently be in development. Then we'll have a talk about the console that keeps getting rumored.
Yeah, well, my thing is, if they do come out with a console, I guess you can say I'm old school. I believe whatever that they have to come out with original content to really have a great even shot at catching Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony for that matter.
And here's the funny thing: they are excellent at that for television.
Yeah,
they have thrown so much money at. Is it called Apple TV Plus or just Apple Plus?
Apple TV Plus, yeah.
Apple TV
Plus.
Yeah.
The morning show, for example, people looked at that and thought, "What? Why would they do that? Why would you want Reese Witherspoon alongside Jennifer Aniston?" Clearly, that's just them picking celebrities out of the market to attract people. And it turned out to be an excellent show. I think they're really good at doing exactly what you're talking about.
And then in addition to that, I don't think they need to necessarily create their own companies to really build that content. I mean, they've already shown that they can do what PlayStation very much does, and give developers the money to build games directly for their platform, or just pay for exclusivity. Exclusivity. There we go. I think that was better. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's options out there, for them to really, hone in and bring that content directly to their platform so they can release it to the masses.
And development is important too. Like the hardware in this thing and the architecture they use in order to deploy the content, if it's not going to be cloud, that's going to be something they have to prepare for. And maybe in a chip shortage, it's not going to be something that happens anytime soon.
But I think they've already done that quite a bit. Like, I mean, just with the Macs that they come out with, like they have very signature architecture to like facilitate games. And then the iPhone, I mean, the iPhone 13 is gaming and photos. Like that's what that thing is like built for, along with a nice screen, But yeah,
but game developers might not want to do that. If you've got your Frostbite engines, you've got your Unreals, you've got your Unities. I mean, porting those platforms to a brand new set of devices. And admittedly, the M1 chip, which is what Apple is leaning on now to make their devices so excellent for a proprietarily sourced operating system in an environment that they control completely to make sure it's like the best experience possible. Even insofar as they reduce the battery availability on devices, throttling through software to try and make devices last longer, but also force a kind of redundancy on the things you own to pay more money. Like that brings another argument into the thing entirely.
I'm not going there.
Just a thing to think about. Like the hardware is an important thing to consider.
Yeah, Apple definitely has the. I mean, they're definitely up there with Sony and Microsoft in terms of they have the ability to do it. It's just a matter what are they going to bring to the table in terms of what people will play, especially if this is going to be a traditional console. Now, like Finance said, they could just outright pay third-party developers to just make games exclusively for them and, just, be done with it. But, I mean, I mean, and it's not too late. I mean, Microsoft did this in 2001, 2002 with Halo. I mean, if they can come out with that game that's going to gear people toward their console, that's all they need. And, I'll just leave it at that. Speaking of Microsoft, going back to them a little bit, Games with Gold and Games Pass Ultimate, they got some games coming out next month that I'm not going to lie, some are very old. Some I haven't heard of these games, but we're going to go through them. Game Pass, Xbox Live and Game Pass Ultimate subscribers will be able to download the following: Broken Sword 5, Serpent's Curse, Aerial Knights Never Yield, Hydrophobia, and Band of Bugs. Now, Hydrophobia and Band of Bugs were originally on the Xbox 360. Now, like I said, I'd never heard of these games, and I'm not very familiar with them. But I mean, after watching the trailer of some of them, you could definitely check them out. I mean, it's definitely not an all-star lineup. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm just being real. I mean, some of it's old, and like the old games on there,
this is what you would call a quiet month in Xbox Live, or for the PlayStation PS Plus service as well. This is what you call a quiet month. You can't just push your subscription out for another month to wait for better ones. But at the same time, like where I haven't heard of these at all, really, you can sometimes find some real gems in there. And look, this runner that we're looking at the moment looks like it's Hydrophobia. That one might be a great one for like an hour and a half, a quick experience. It might have a compelling story. It looks like the graphics are excellent. Just realized watching the video stream, it's not Hydrophobia, but look, that side-scrolling runner one looked great. Like, I would pick that up for a second and give it a go. And that's the whole idea of it, right? They're giving you these games for free to have a go, have a try, see if you can find something you like. And the exposure to more games that way is really important. So we're looking for value as gamers. You're not necessarily going to get Control every month. But I would say let's look positively at these and see if you can find something that's going to be really nice just a quiet one, a
Band of
quickie
Bugs looks
before we get
interesting.
into February.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not every month is going to be a hot month on Game Pass, you know. So I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, like Matt said, it's going to be a slow month. I find it interesting that they're not going a little bit harder and ensuring that they really capture those games from developers to, you know, make sure that they bring people in. But I guess they did just hit 25 million people on Game Pass. So I mean, they're definitely doing something right. They have their first parties and so forth that they're going to consistently keep on bringing. So do they really need to? No, maybe not. But I mean, to continue bringing people into Game Pass and make sure that they don't drop the subscription for a month and then come back, you know, at the given time, because that's what these subscription services are great about. You can just drop it at any time and then come back when the games come. You know, that if you want to keep on bringing people through and keep on having them consistently paying, then yeah, you have to bring the games. But that being said, Hydrophobia, that game looked horrible right now. But back in the day, that game reviewed fairly well, and I wanted that game really, really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You had a 360. I mean, were you familiar with any of these games?
Yeah, just Hydrophobia. Yeah, and then there was. I'm not familiar with any other games, but yeah, I mean they're free games. I mean not free, but
Look,
you pay.
There's not much more to say, right?
Yeah.
Give them a go. If they
I think the runner you're thinking of was Aerial Knights Never Yield. I mean, I'd probably give that one a shot. And then Band of Bugs didn't look too bad either. That looked like a pretty neat puzzle game. But yeah, Hydrophobia, that's kind of tough to look at in 2022. You know, but
yeah, for developers, I mean, you know, is it worth bringing your games to Game Pass? For some, it is. For some, I'm sure it's not. So
no. And then another game that you may be familiar with, Matt, since you're the PC gamer of all of us here, Besiege. It's on Steam. It launched back in February 2020. That's also coming to the Game Pass service next month. Are you familiar with that one?
I am. I actually bought it a few years ago. I think it must have been something in early access before it had a 1.0 release, because I definitely bought it before 2020. But that one is a lot of fun. How it translates to console would be interesting, because it requires you to build machines to solve puzzles in environments, at least with the main core of the game. And doing that on a console, on a gamepad kind of thing, I can imagine to be a little bit frustrating. But they would only bring it to console if they'd figured that out. It is a lot of fun if you like kind of simulation environments. There is a game involving dwarfs, which is very much in the same vein, where you build machines to interact with platformed environments as well. If I knew the name, if this would be a shorter sentence. But again, if you've got Game Pass and you see this pop in, I would urge you to give it a go. It's a lot of fun. And it's the kind of thing where you do it the wrong way and you have a good old laugh because you're seeing all these little dudes explode, or maybe they win. I don't know, but the machines explode in funny ways, and you can play with the game physics with the machines you build as well. It's a great one. I would recommend giving that a go.
All right, for sure, definitely. So yeah, that comes out on the 10th of February. So definitely be on the lookout for that if you want to give Besiege Console Edition a shot. I'm definitely gonna download it when the 10th comes, or maybe.
And look, full argument for what Besiege will be good for.
Mhm.
If you're picking up Dying Light or you're picking up Horizon and you're like, I need a little break. I need to just put that story down for a little bit and come back to it in a minute. This is great to pick up for 15 minutes, have a muck around, a quick laugh, go to bed, and then you'll come back fresh for the game the next day. It's a good interstitial game. Good to play around with.
I mean, yeah, I see why maybe the quality isn't so great, because let's be real. Next month is going to be a killer month in terms of what's coming out, you know, and you just put on those right there, Matt. All right, so now that we talked Microsoft, will talk Sony and PlayStation Plus games coming out in the month of February, and you know, I think they got some pretty good games coming out. I'm real excited to play one of them, Planet Coaster. console edition for the PS5, and then Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, a Wonderland's one-shot adventure. Man, that title was so long, for the PS4, and EA Sports UFC 4 for the PS4. It's funny how they have an EA game coming to the Sony, PlayStation Plus. Maybe EA will buy. No, maybe Sony will buy EA. No, I'm just kidding. But I just had to throw
That's
that in there.
full conspiracy mode, I think.
Yeah, I know. I just had to throw that in there. But yeah, these are the games coming to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Now, the PlayStation 4 games, of course, are backwards compatible on your PS5. And the PS5 looks like there's going to be a PS5 exclusive, so you won't be able to play it on the PS4. But Planet Coaster Console Edition, I've never played it, but I love roller coaster rides, and I've been itching to try to get back into the magic that was very comparable to Roller Coaster Tycoon for me back in the day. I'm a big amusement park fan. So I'm definitely gonna try that one, but I'll probably download at least 2 of the games. Maybe not the UFC one, but um, anything on here that anyone should be on the lookout for in terms of the February games for PlayStation Plus, guys?
Well, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, or whatever that's called, would probably be a good shout, especially with the new game coming up this year, right?
Yeah. This year, sometime this year.
Yeah, we don't have a release date for that yet, but yeah, coming out this. Actually,
And it's so funny.
March.
There's so much preparation
March.
for it.
Yeah, March.
Is it March?
I think it's March. I could be wrong.
I'm not
soon.
that.
Yeah, look it up. But yeah, that's my favorite part about PlayStation is like how they like the lead up to a game. They'll bring like, the older game from PlayStation Plus in order to, hype you up or give you exposure to that game that you maybe have never played, or, to really just get you ready to jump into the next story in that franchise. I love that. All these are pretty solid games. UFC 4 was like pretty well received. Tiny Tina's is great. The roller coaster game, roller coaster sims just do, fairly well in general. But yeah, I'm super excited for Tiny Tina's Dungeon Assault or whatever assault on
that super long title. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next Tiny Tina's Wonderlands game, that's what it's called. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, coming out March 25th, actually.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Brilliant. And there's so many different ways you can prepare for that. You've got this one, and you've got the DLC that comes with Borderlands 2, which is also excellent. Both of those are in the same vein.
Yeah, definitely. But so, I think compared to Microsoft and Sony in terms of what they got coming out on their platforms for next month, I really think just by reading the games, I think Sony's a big winner here in terms of PlayStation Plus. So I'm definitely gonna download at least 2 of the games. Maybe I'll probably download the UFC one also. We'll see. Let's have a little bit of fun with that.
Just a quick thing I noticed today when I was on PlayStation Plus, and they've been doing this for a while now, but I've never really just called it out on the podcast or anything like that. But now when you go to the PlayStation Store, and then they have PlayStation Plus, and they have they're showing all the games and everything, they'll have the dollar amount of what those total games are worth in order to propose that value proposition towards people. It's $120 worth of games free for your $15 a month subscription. And I just find that hilarious. I'm just they've been doing this for quite a while, but I just looked at it today, and I just really just noticed it. And I don't know if Microsoft might do something similar, but
I can tell you that the Epic Game Store on PC definitely does that. Their store doesn't allow you to create a cart and purchase all at once. You have to purchase the games one at a time. So what they do is with the free games that they have every week, sometimes a little bit more frequently, you'll purchase it and it will say the actual price, which more than usually is the regular retail price. Slash that out and it says 0 instead with the discount. I think they've probably seen that that's a really good model to drive game acquisition that way. And with Epic, it's a bit more, I guess, humanitarian, where they don't really ask for any money from you, but where, with PlayStation, it might be a good motivation for people to feel like they're getting value out of the money they pay each month.
And then just one more thing on top of that is just when when you actually like go through the PlayStation store, like sometimes you can find those games and like individually purchase them. Like you just mentioned, it has like the zeroed out amount. Like for PlayStation, you go into the PlayStation store, you like spend like that 10-15 minutes like searching for them, and sometimes you can like buy them individually, and it actually is cheaper than than that total amount that they actually like posted. So I find that cute and funny.
This is see, if I have a PS4. I used to be on PS Plus for a long time because in that period there was some great games attached to that. And look, when the PS5 came out, that wasn't necessarily the worst experience that site has ever been. I remember that entirely myself. Like going through that list, going through and seeing what the games were. Oh wait, no, they're full price here. Why are we? Oh, I'm not logged in. I need to log in again. And then you log in, and then the prices are different, and they've got their PS Plus discounts in addition to their free games. And you load up that cart. It's a bit of a process with that site. You just reminded me of that when you explained it. It's weird.
Well, definitely. But for the most part, if you guys download these games this month, definitely give us some feedback on them. So, whether you go with the Xbox or PlayStation, PS5, PS4, just let us know. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about the cloud games on the Switch, particularly Kingdom Hearts. And a lot of people are not really agreeing with this. And, for the most part, they've already put out a few games on the cloud version. I think the most recent one was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. And just, in my opinion, just until Nintendo gets a better online service, better infrastructure there, I would not recommend getting any cloud versions of games on that platform. I would go to another platform or see if they come out with a better, powerful Switch Pro or Switch 2, which we'll get into in a moment, and just see if they can run the games better. I mean,
well, look, let's talk about value propositions properly, right? What's brought us here is the recent release of Kingdom Hearts in that cloud service.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem that gamers have with this is the games have been around for a very long time.
Yes.
They're even cross-platform. They're on PC, they're on PS4, they're on PS2. Some of them you could definitely get on a prior platform, and the idea that on that platform they're going to be a lot more authentic than this cloud gaming experience, I think that's the thing that sticks in people's craw a little bit. That's going to be the reason that they're so annoyed that it's not as good as it could be. And as a Kingdom Hearts fan myself, and funnily enough, a podcast that is also running alongside us as well, the Dukes of Gaming, they talked a lot about Kingdom Hearts last night, and it's got a rabid fan base. There are people who love it, there are people who hate it, but the ones who love it, they're not going to hang back and go, oh yeah, they did all right. It's okay. I'll get a Switch anyway, right?
No.
They're making people pay $80 or $90 for this thing.
Absolutely not. No.
And the other argument for it is that they're not paying for a game. They can't play it offline. They have to be on the internet. So they're as close to buying just a license for access rather than the game itself, which invariably games are as a service now. But in terms of what people are paying their money for, not only are you asking them to just pay for a license as long as the server is up, but also you're going to have a worse experience than you could have had on the PS2 or whatever platform it was. That's where the big argument comes in, I think.
Yeah. I completely agree with your sentiments there, but I'm just laughing so hard, just so hard about this. Cause I mean, this was you think people would learn from each lesson and not like treat it by a game by game basis. There has been no game that has ran well on their cloud service.
Nope.
They've been able to bring games to their cloud service, and that's great. You're able to access games that you normally wouldn't be able to access on the Switch. Just with a big asterisk, it's gonna run like shit. Like that is what you're getting
it's a Nintendo Switch Online service, and like I said
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year, they need to improve that online service, not just for online gameplay, but just for cloud gaming as well. Just
it's not possible with the current system. I mean, I think that was the biggest disappointment when we saw the Switch OLED, was that we expected stronger, beefier chips and just like more capable hardware. And we got a screen and we got a kickstand. So it's just so funny. Shout out to so there was an article. The article's on thegamer.com, and they pulled a tweet from @Ash #2_Kai, and they recorded their gameplay. You have to go see it. It's on Twitter. You have to see it. It stutters, it steps, it's 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 really choppy. It's horrible. And then at the end of their tweet, they're like, yeah, it's running at 739 megabits per second, by the way. Just hilarious. Yeah.
That's awful.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But we saw this from the Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw this with Control. We saw this. We've seen this. What's that?
Hitman 3.
Yeah, I've seen this from Hitman 3. They can't properly emulate 64 games. 64 games are having similar trouble.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
I'm not saying it's not getting better, but when you start down here, it's not very hard to move up a little bit. When you start in the dump, it's not too hard to crawl your way out a little bit and see a little sunshine.
And look, they may be flexing their ego a little bit here. They might be saying to users, well, we've given you a Switch and we're providing you means to play these, AAA titles without you having to buy another console. Why aren't you enjoying this game that you would otherwise have to spend a horrendous amount of money to do? And I think Kingdom Hearts is the first game that's come as part of this after the games you've listed that I would argue is AAA. But that is available. That is a remaster, or it's bringing it up to the consoles that are currently available. And to realize that the experience on the new consoles is worse than on the previous versions, even the originals. Yeah. Sometimes that's really the argument that leads us to think, well, maybe put in a bit more effort, Nintendo. Maybe take it back to the drawing board and see what you can do with it before you release another one.
This has the 2.5 remix in it, and I believe that one was on DS, and it runs better. That game runs better on DS than the emulation does on Switch. So if you want to go play that on the DS, because.
But look, the initial one that came out on PS2. Also, a lot of the stuff we're talking about here is with reference to a Digital Foundry video that talked about cloud gaming and made comparisons of all these products on their various consoles. And the initial version of Kingdom Hearts 1, that was not, for its time, it was good. But
it was.
Bring it up today, that one is worse on the new generation of consoles, then you really are looking at having a bit of a problem, especially when it's been ported and retextured for that re-release as well. No, I'm sorry, it just doesn't pass.
I mean, and all this started because they wanted to put Sora in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as the final character, and then the first thing that ran through my mind when that was announced, first off, I was surprised I got it right, and then secondly, just wait, there's no Kingdom Hearts game on the Switch. Oh, this is what they're doing, cloud gaming.
Look, if this is the tit for tat, like they have done a fantastic job creating a Nintendo product that integrates this character, and then they take a huge dump on what they should have followed up with as an exchange, as an equal exchange, then that's Nintendo acting in bad faith. If that's really how that deal went down.
Yeah. I mean, no kidding, because that's it's for what the hardware is. You would think that maybe not Kingdom Hearts 3, but at least the 1.5 and 2.5 remix, it should be able to run that, right? Right?
You would think so, but obviously not. The thing that kind of gets me about it is like Kingdom Hearts fans are angry about this. But
Oh yeah,
if you're a
very
Kingdom
angry.
Hearts fan, you think you would have played these games by now. It's these games
There's
have been
always
out for
room
a
to play
very
it
long
again.
time. Yeah.
Always get a replay in. You got to do your yearly Kingdom Hearts 2 run.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
It's
yeah.
Steam Deck will be out in a
anything.
second. So
Yeah, I would just wait, guys, because the thing is, if you're looking forward to this on the Switch, chances are, one, you've already played it. I mean, or if worse comes to worse, if you really want to just adventure a Sora, just do it in a fighting game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, right?
Or rather, if you have a mid to high range PC, jump on the Epic Store, pay for it there.
go buy a PlayStation 2. Go play it there.
You could do that too.
PlayStation 2, PS2 backwards compatibility, you can definitely do that. Or if you have a PS3, if you have one of the PS1 games, that has backwards compatibility also. Just definitely just there are other ways to play these games, guys. All right. So don't depend on the Switch Cloud for playing any games, at least for now. But
Not if you want to keep your sanity.
but the Switch must be doing something right, because you know what it recently did? What did it do, guys?
Is this a test?
Well, just
I wasn't listening at the start. What did they do?
I don't know. They released another game on cloud gaming.
No. It's it
Final
passed.
Fantasy X is coming to the Switch.
Oh God.
Great. All right.
Such a beautiful game.
All right.
I know you're just joshing.
It's a beautiful game.
It's all good. But no, what it did is it passed the PS1 in total sales. It's now one of the top 5 consoles of all time. And you know what that means, right? It's
because they made a lot of money.
It made a lot of money, and the online service is crap, but yet it sold X amount of consoles. So either Nintendo proved that you can sell consoles without releasing the best of hardware, or they just have great content, as some of their spokespeople love to say, and their fanboys and fangirls.
They prove that year on year, don't they? People go to it for your Zeldas and your Marios and your Super Smash Brothers,
Kirby's.
That's what brings it in. Your Kirby's now.
Yeah.
They're leaning hard on that content that's very exclusive on their platform. The only thing they've done that's on another platform beyond emulation that they deem illegal is Mario Runner on mobile. That's it.
Yeah, and then they pretty much trashed their mobile market. They're not doing many mobiles anymore. They really trimmed that down. But yeah, you know what? I mean, they're really good at providing small iterations for people in their consoles and hardware that allows them, that it makes sense for them to buy it. And they're, when every other handheld disappears off the market, and they were already the leading handheld, person that did, consoles or hardware, with
they're
the DS and so forth. They're the king of handhelds. They blew out the Vita, the only other one on the market. Of course, we have like old school retro hardware, like the Analog Pocket. But they really filled that niche. They really filled in that gap for people that were looking for the next best piece of handheld hardware. But then they also brought you something new. So, just allowing you to connect to your TV and have this console switch between your handheld and go to your whatever your TV is. Just really, they filled something that wasn't there in the market. So I mean, it makes sense. And then they give you the option. They brought a cheaper one out, and really fulfilled in that iteration. And just, I mean, they're great. They're great at doing very much what Apple does and making small iterations to their hardware and bringing it out for people and giving them reasons to buy it. I think, honestly, Joy-Con Drift really helped with that. And these pieces of hardware, with them being mobile and then people taking them out and about, they wear out faster. They're not sitting underneath your TV just collecting dust. They're getting used and abused. So it gives people even more reason to buy these consoles, and that's what we're seeing here. They very much did sell a ton of consoles, and they're going to continue to sell them. But there's outstanding reasons why. There's a little bit more to it than just they're selling a ton of consoles, I feel like.
Let's go all the way in here. Let's say that everyone who has a Nintendo console, who's a fanboy, has Stockholm Syndrome, and Nintendo as a company is unwilling to negotiate with, I don't know, what would it be in gaming? Not terrorists, but demands of the consumer. You can't even sell your old N64 on eBay anymore.
Did we confirm that one?
I thought it was a joke, but I don't know.
Oh, look, it could have been a joke, but did anyone question it because they wouldn't expect Nintendo to do that? No, of course not. They said, yeah, I'd agree Nintendo would have done this. Might have been fake, but I wouldn't have blinked an eye if Nintendo actually went about doing that, having a history of removing emulated content from platforms that were trying to make it available, being so dastardly as to release online services, including emulation, that had commented code in that emulation backend from platforms, from the platform that was emulated and created by third parties to provide freely and open source. Like they do a lot of things that kind of, they have their peripheral vision kind of off. They look at their roadmap and they develop things in their own time. They're even off the cycle of other consoles. There will be a PlayStation and an Xbox, and a couple of years later there'll be a Nintendo console, or whatever that rate of release is. They're a group of dastardly folks that have the best intentions. That's the weird thing. And look, I'm not one to talk. I haven't had a Nintendo console properly since the Game Boy Advance SP. Sorry, I had to recall there because my Game Boy Color actually was stolen. Game Boy Advance SP. Since then, I haven't really purchased anything. Just kind of watch things third hand. So, look, I'm not in that world. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in it, Nintendo-wise. But that's what it looks like as an outsider. But congratulations for selling so many consoles.
Oh yeah, that was the topic, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, they sold.
Congrats, Nintendo.
Yeah, they're in the top
Nintendo,
5 now.
Fix everything. Good job.
Well, I mean, with this chip shortage, do you think that obviously they're going to continue to sell more consoles. Are they in any rush to put out a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro?
No. They were the number one console of 2021. Why would they be in a rush to do anything? And they were the number one console of 2020 and what was that, 2019? So
they were the number one console in 2020 and 2021, being a mobile console offering when a lot of people were locked at home. Like, how did you do that? Well, obviously you release PlayStations and Xboxes and don't have enough supply to give to everybody. But, they're doing well enough in an environment where it doesn't really demand the kind of market they drive at. And part of it is because they don't negotiate. They're not going to do the Switch 2 just because everybody wants it. They've got a plan. They've got a 10-year plan. Investors.
Yeah. And with everyone asking for it, that's even more reason for them to hold it off.
Yeah. Excitement grows. Yeah. Look, we are also in a world where Breath of the Wild 2, an unnamed sequel, is on the nominated most anticipated game for next year list.
And it still doesn't have a name or a release date this year. So it might be
and
next
people
year.
Complain about Elden Ring being up there twice. At least they're doing stuff. Or that we can see.
I mean, you got to give them some kind of credit. Now, I do have a couple more questions before we move on to Metaverse. Do you see the Switch catching the Game Boy family of systems, which is 118 million, and the PS4, which is at 116 million? Do you see You see him catching that by the end of this year or by next year?
By I don't know. It's a tough one. I can see it this year. Yeah, I can see 10 million sold this year. For sure.
Right, so it would be very close. I know the PS4. I know they're really slowing down production on that. So, and then Game Boy. So, if assuming that it does pass those two, it means it would be in the top 3. The DS family of systems at 154 million, and the PS2 at 155.
Do we need a new class? Do we need a new class of Nintendo mobile device where it can be the best in its class because
and the
it's
shittiest
the
online service?
We'll get to that eventually if we haven't talked about it enough about it already. But best in its class because it sells the most devices with the least hardware iterations. Like, that's got to be the thing about running up against the DS, right? Because they count those numbers incrementally in addition to the total whenever they release a brand new one. And there was a lot of new ones coming out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Switch includes the original Switch, the one with the first reiteration with the better battery life, obviously the Lite, and then this new OLED. So it includes all 4 of those. And
when we see a Switch, sorry, I'm sweating. I can't not think about how much I'm sweating. I'm sorry, everybody. A Switch XL, when we see that, I'll think they're on par with the DS stuff. But they're just going to keep selling because it's like holding out for the better model, right? You really don't want to hedge your bets, like let it ride until you get to the next console iteration and have such a massive backlog of games that you're never going to touch that you want to. Like Metroid Dread, like Breath of the Wild, which some people may still not have played because they're waiting for a better hardware iteration to, future-proof this stuff. But there's also the fear with Nintendo that they don't do backwards compatibility either. People have to kickstart the analog to play Game Boy games instead of making them all available on a digital platform. Look, I'm going full cynical on this one. Nintendo, you're copping it. It's not you. Maybe it's a little bit you, but
well, Finance is holding out. I mean, he's been holding out since day one. He's just like, he wanted to see what they were going to do. He's come close to getting a Switch Lite. He's come very close, but I mean, he hasn't bitten yet. And do you think he will bite, Finance? Or what's it going to take you to get a Switch? I mean, I was saying that you haven't taken the bait yet on buying
one. Let's see. I mean, it's tough for me, man. Like I know, like earlier this year, they said they were making, after being sued so many times for people and Joy-Con drift. I know they said they were making improvements, on the Joy-Cons themselves. I haven't seen any lawsuits come through, so I guess that's probably right. Yeah, it's just
let me help you.
Yeah.
What is the thing that would have to change? What's the thing that would push you over the line to say yes, give it me now?
Man, that's a tough question.
The Kirby game.
So for me, okay. So
the Kirby game.
I don't like to support what I feel like is a broken console or a broken piece of hardware or something that doesn't function as well as I think it should. And I've said this before in the podcast. So it's like really tough for me to find the value proposition in a Switch if thinking like when I purchase this, is there any, there's never a guarantee, but very much like, am I buying something that's possibly going to be broken in the next year or two? That's just a very difficult for me to just to pull the trigger on. If someone was like, hey, like, and I knew the person was like, hey, I got a used Switch, it's all good, like everything works on it, at a good price, I would buy it from a friend. But I would never buy a Switch like from the store as priced as is. Like maybe if they dropped it like a Switch OLED to $150 and I have everything else. I have my PlayStation 5, I have my Xbox, I already have my Xbox Series X, and I have like I would buy a Game Boy, like another Game Boy. I know Nesco was talking about his Game Boy earlier in the chat. I would buy another Game Boy. I would buy all my old classic consoles that I'm still missing. I would buy a Neo Geo and a Jaguar and build my game library up before I would buy a new Switch, because I like that there's more value for me personally, and getting those old consoles that really aren't available than trying to just buying this console. So there's really nothing, I guess, that Nintendo can do at this point to have me buy one of those consoles.
And it's the funny thing. This is exactly the phone argument that we make on a yearly basis, because that's how often they release phones. Sticking to Apple, just because they're very much in the same lane as Nintendo, you look at the phone each year, you know that there's a release coming up. They talk about the release and have an announcement. People give off their reviews. And if you don't think that phone is going to be for you in 3 years or 4 years, or you think it's going to be liable to break, you're probably not going to upgrade. Nintendo is on a slower scale than that. They have to think longer because these consoles will last in any iteration for like 5 to 6 years.
I think
the mentality
longer than that.
Shorter than that, you think?
Well, I mean, longer. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Switch has been out since 2017.
I think we'd have to say that based on how we're talking now, Nintendo has to refresh soon, just because of all the complaints we've got. But we can't make as educated decisions about products that we would do on a yearly basis with electronics with these, because the difference between iOS and Android, for example, is relatively minor. It's a user experience. Whereas with the Switch, they're holding the exclusivity of games just like PlayStation is. So if you want to play them, you have to get that platform. And as I said, Nintendo doesn't seem to negotiate. They won't move games to the new platform in the case that you can't get them. They won't drop the price when a new console comes out. They may drop it a tiny little bit, but look, 10% is the max that you'll get off any Apple device as well. It's a really hard decision to make, and it puts the consumer in a position of feeling like it's a FOMO decision. Like, I feel the FOMO. Like, I was this close as well at the end of last year to getting a Switch. Sorry to hit the mic there. Sorry if you heard that. I was this close. Metroid Dread was going to push me over the line, but then there was just too much other stuff to play on other systems that I've already got. It just didn't make sense. Sorry, I'm about to cough incredibly loudly because I've been talking a lot. So I'm going to mute and I'm going to save you all.
Thank you. Yeah. No.
That's the cue for you guys to fill in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, definitely we'll have to just wait and see. But I mean, my prediction, I think it gets into the top 3. If we get into the 150 millions and this thing is still going strong after another 2 or 3 years, it could be the best selling system of all time, and not even what it was up to its full capability level. That's the crazy part about it. Like,
but yeah, will it be selling the best selling of all time for the right reasons? No, that would be my argument.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, when the Wii was selling like hotcakes, like people looked at it fondly at the time, but it's not looked as fondly upon now, even though it sold, tremendous amounts at the given time. So.
It was. I always say this. It was sold on a gimmick. Motion controls. I mean, it didn't take off like a lot of people thought it would. And it was funny too because PlayStation, with the PlayStation Move, and then the Xbox Connects. It's just I don't know. I just look at motion controls. It's just like, part of me just says what a joke, but
millennials are a little more discerning than 10 and under kids and grandparents.
Yeah,
maybe that's the difference.
All right, so definitely. Well, congratulations, Nintendo. You're in the top 5. You have another console in the top 5 consoles of all time yet again. We'll see how far this one can go. All right, so for our last topic, we're going to get into the metaverse. What is it? Are we living in it already? The pros and cons. I want to let Matt take it away here, so go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I had to suggest it for this week because metaverse and blockchain conversations have been kicking off all over the place this week and the last week. Um, the whole metaverse aspect of things obviously came out in the Activision Blizzard acquisition too, because Microsoft, or rather Xbox, came out and said that's them making a play in the metaverse market. That was the main reason for them purchasing it. And why would that be? There's a lot of conversations going on, and in particular, if you're curious to hear not the devil's advocate, but the people who are trying to drive the metaverse movement forward a little bit, jump over to GamesBeat and VentureBeat. They ran an entire series of sessions this week on the metaverse and different aspects of it. But more importantly, just to center this on the video game stuff a little bit. When we're talking about things like the metaverse, we are talking about virtual spaces for people to interact in, to do things like they wouldn't do in the physical world, but have access to it in their own living room, for example. And that value proposition, which is apparently the phrase for this podcast, because I've heard myself say it about 4 times, I think. The value of the metaverse for people now is being driven as a work from home solution. The Facebook Horizons stuff and Horizons Gaming, Horizons Workplace, that there's an ad that came out for that, and there was no less complaints than for anything else. The most funny one that I saw as a complaint for that being the idea that it looked like The Bad Place from the show The Good Place, which is like a heaven and hell comparison. Anyway, the metaverse is a virtual place where you can do stuff. You're probably thinking of Fortnite, which is kind of a pre-built metaverse poised to overtake
they've had
us.
concerts in Fortnite.
Yeah, and big product integrations. They even did something for MLK last year as a museum-based experience.
That's right. That's right.
With a few quibbles here or there. We won't go into them. I don't think there's any need to. The big question and the thing on everyone's lips at the moment is the idea of NFTs, though. The idea of the metaverse and the ideas around using the blockchain for gaming, they are inextricably linked, rather. And NFTs have been a point of resistance for everybody in gaming, mostly because the idea of buying an NFT is that you're not really buying anything. You're buying something on the blockchain that tells you you own this thing that everybody else can have as well. But Ubisoft came up to us towards the end of this week. They obviously released their Quartz platform towards the end of last year to sell NFTs in their games. And they have said to a public who has been actively resistant to this platform that they are going to continue with it, that the gaming audience doesn't get it. And that's a really strong statement about NFTs and blockchain and the metaverse. And that statement is that there's something else there that they're trying to drive towards. And in the number of articles where you can see the Ubisoft leadership quoted as saying, we're giving players more ownership of games because you can sell your NFTs back into a market and it helps developers make money. It's not really the case because players aren't driven by money. They're driven by enjoyment of games, an authentic experience, and the ability to escape from this world into another without it being mired by money. So I'm curious what you guys think. Seeing Ubisoft's stance on the idea of NFTs and their role in gaming, and with the whole environment of the metaverse outlaid for us, the stuff set out in Snow Crash and other cyberpunk dystopias, the future that we're looking at and where we're driving towards. Do you think that there is more from these companies that are saying, no, NFTs are the way forward? Do you think there's more than just the NFTs there? Or do you think it's just about the money?
I think at the end of the day, it's just about the money. And I think there's definitely more behind what they want to do. I mean, it must be, because it seems like you go everywhere, right? Well, maybe not everywhere, but you go most places in the video game space right now. Even GameStop, they're talking about NFTs, and I feel like they're shoving it down us, the consumers' throats. So, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I guess it's a good thing for them, if they're making money off of it. But, at the same time, maybe us as gamers, really don't understand it.
And look, that's entirely a possibility, but it feels like they're trying to say that it's more than the money. The fact that they're driving ahead with this, even though people are saying no, that there's marketplaces being built by GameStop, and that thing that you mentioned just then. It feels really weird that they're trying to drive a technical innovation that is being actively resisted by the majority of users on a platform. There has to be something else there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, I definitely think there's something more there, but I think the underlining is, I mean, at this time, it's about the money. The metaverse is been around for a long time. We've had simulation games where you very much are engulfed, like not necessarily virtual reality, but you go through this experience and you build out your character, and then you're living within this world, and just sim like games. You're very much experiencing the world within the world and purchasing things and things like that. Yeah, so I mean, blockchains and NFTs are a way to it's going to be a different way to really incorporate that economic part of these sim games and really allow people to facilitate trading and buying and things like that. But these companies are not looking to build something altogether. They're not, in the articles that we were reading, it's referred to as the omniverse. It's not a group and a collaboration through all these companies and everyone building towards something to create this universe to where everyone can coincide and then build their markets within their company. Everyone's trying to build their individual blockchains, NFTs, and worlds, and really gaming is a way to facilitate that because gaming is already building essentially these simulations that people can be in, and just adding it's much easier than a car company or someone else. So yeah, it's about I mean, the money is where it's it's really geared towards. If they were all trying to collab and build something better, like Ready Player One style, I can very much see that. But if it's going to be one corporation that to take it all, then it's not something that I personally want to be a part of. And there's still like real world ramifications to experiencing something that like what Meta is suggesting. So I don't think we're ready. I think it's still too early. I think yes, we need to, of course, start somewhere. And this is very much I feel like the initial footprint in this. But I don't think we're going to be ready for this for many years.
Yeah, I think
It's absolutely the case. Yeah.
I think we're already kind of living in it, but just like you said, Finance, we're not ready for it yet. And do I think that NFTs are gonna help companies like GameStop, which stock is just like inconsistently up and down right now? I mean, I don't see any proof behind that. I mean, I don't think
I think
GameStop.
just to clarify that a little bit, the thing that they keep on saying about NFTs is that it gives ownership to the players. So the
Yeah.
money driving model that they're trying to establish there is that you
Mm,
buy an NFT in a game, you finish that game,
yeah.
then you can sell back the NFT to another person. But the marketplace, like GameStop, will take a little bit off the top. And again, the game developers or the game publisher or whoever it is that's in ownership of that thing, they'll also take a little bit off the top. And that value driving factor for someone who's purchased something in a game that they'll never play again,
Mm,
that's meant to solve the microtransaction problem, which is a money driven enterprise with no value for the player after you've finished the game.
not at
I
all.
think that's, yeah, precisely. It's a I think it all does revolve around the money. And one of the biggest problems with this, and I realize too, I'm talking quite a lot and you're hearing a lot of my reflections. I just need a platform to be able to talk about this stuff, guys.
We understand.
Good. The idea that there's something else there, like there's something all these tech bros understand and know that is possible with blockchain and the metaverse, and they're not telling us because they want to keep it proprietary. Like you said, Finest, that they don't want to inadvertently share with their competitors to, improve their odds in this omniverse. But at the same time, in order for them to prove the value of these future enterprises, they need to show big numbers to do that. So they need to sell NFTs and show that it makes money first, and then they'll be able to do it. Whereas in a utopia, or a non-capitalist utopia rather, where money wasn't driving everything, then maybe we'd be able to skip to step 2 instead of just being mired in step 1, where we're buying monkey faces or jumping on Twitter to buy hexagon-shaped profile pictures. And
I mean, I don't think like cryptocurrency is really proven yet, but I mean, hey, there's an arena that just changed its name to the crypto.com arena. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, maybe 5-10 years from now, it's the new norm, and if I miss out, I miss out. I invested in some cryptocurrency a while back. I know it's not going to be like an overnight success, but at the same time, it's like if you see you're down and it's just like if you want to get out, you got to get out. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
But you can sell that currency, right? That's what they're trying to tell you can do with your games and NFTs.
Yeah.
Like, World of Warcraft, this is a Blizzard game. Blizzard are terrible people. So you divest yourselves of all of your NFTs that are in-game items because you don't want to support them anymore. But the funny thing is, in that scenario, you're also giving them money in order to divest yourself of it. I think there's a really weird nature of this where it's not just like investing in the stock exchange like basic cryptocurrency management is currently like. And the other big component of this, which I just want to quickly discuss before we round out the session today. Session. I feel like I'm in a training session. It's because I'm talking so much. The idea of play to earn is becoming a big thing. And I know that Phil Spencer has brought play to earn into Halo Infinite, not with crypto. Guys, it's not headline news. Just about giving you credits back for whatever time you dedicate to the game in order to buy things in their marketplace. But play to earn games with cryptocurrency is a big thing at the moment. It's a burgeoning market. Everyone's getting into it. And the idea is you play the game in order to earn money. But the value for gamers there is that you end up playing the game in order to earn money instead of deriving enjoyment, which we do for games we purchase outright. Would any of you be motivated to play a play-to-earn game and acquire cryptocurrency that way, or whatever value they attach to?
I mean, yeah, I already feel like I very much do that within Destiny. I mean, that's what these live services and these season passes are. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's very much a similar model. And like you're playing a game and you want all these cool items, and the only way you can, get these items is if you play the game so much and complete these tasks within the game in order to get credits or enough experience or whatever that model is in order to get that best stuff. And that was like the last time I played Destiny was there was finally an armor set that I wanted at level 100, and I had to finish the battle pass. And I was like, okay, well, the only way I'm going to do this is if I play this game for about 100 hours. And that's what I did. I played, multiplayer. But then that was when I dropped the game. I was like, okay, that was the one battle pass I've ever completed, and I'm good, and I'm not going to play for a very long time because this isn't a model that is sustainable for me to enjoy the game. I very much was happy when I got my item, but I did not enjoy that. Like, it's already a grind, but going after that, I did not enjoy that grind trying to get to that point. The journey was not worth the reward for me.
So pretty much when you felt the enjoyment, you didn't think that the reward was going to be like, oh, great, I did it. It was just like, Yeah, I got it. Now I'm putting it down. So I mean, that's like, well, maybe some of what I got when I played Destiny. Probably one of the main reasons why I wanted to get out of Destiny. It was just the grind and the grind and the grind. You keep coming back, and it's just like. And I've told Finance, I've told you this a million times. I want to play other games, man.
Well, time is your resource
Yeah,
there, right?
that too.
Like
I mean,
you're plunging time into this live service game, which
mhm.
now is free, right? Except for the expansions.
It's
Destiny 2
it's
is
it's
free.
not quite free, no. It's free up
Okay.
to a certain point, and then they keep on removing old content and then recycling that content and bringing it back at certain points. But the game, when I last ended with the game was it was like over like 130, 140 gigs, something like that. So they kept on having to remove content in order to replace the content. It's a big cluster. But yeah, it's free to a certain point, but you don't get the entire game.
Okay.
Yeah,
But still,
that's crazy.
you're plunging your time in there.
Yeah.
And time has value for you because time spent there is removed from other games that you could also be dedicating your time to. But as gamers, we don't want to boil down things to the basic increments of how we progress through the universe, right?
No.
You don't want to think about how many hours you want to, separate between the different games you want to play. You just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And substituting the time you spend with money or with cryptocurrency or with NFTs as a play to earn aspect, I don't know. It's going to be a bit tough to push across the line unless somehow they can find a balance between game enjoyment and the ability to earn something that as a contribution for your time, which clearly Destiny hasn't figured out. Bungie, maybe get on that.
I think
But
they probably have. I mean, I'm one person. A lot of people have fallen off, but
I
for
fall off.
they figured
that,
something out. Can
yeah,
we say
they have a
that
lot of
much at least?
they have a lot of people playing still.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. There's still a community. There's a crew I hang out with on the PlayStation Network when I go onto their servers. That they're still into it. They play religiously. They want me to come back, and it's just like, yeah, no, sorry guys, but and Finance knows these guys because he's gamed with them also. All right, so. A great discussion about the metaverse. I'm pretty sure we'll be coming back to that, later on within the year. Thank you, Matt, for that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So,
please get in touch if you have questions about NFTs, cryptocurrency, and the metaverse. I'm more than willing to have an argument with you.
and he's serious, folks. All right, so we're gonna go through the release rundown, which isn't very much just for the first week of February, but we're gonna go through these. This is just, I guess you can kind of say this is the last of the appetizers before we get to the big stuff. Life is Strange Remastered Collection coming February 1st. Pretty much coming to all consoles but the Switch. PC, Stadia, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S1. Waylanders coming to the PC February 2nd. We got Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishment, which is already on multiple platforms already, but this is coming to Switch February 3rd. And then Dying Light 2 Stay Human, the big game for next week, coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and X, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. Any of these games y'all looking forward to? Any of these games people will probably be looking to get?
Has anyone got 500 hours available
for
to next week?
Yeah, I mean,
so they pretty clarified that. They
Yes.
they walked back on that like so many times. Like if you read their
because
Twitter
they
thread,
messaged it badly,
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that is a great value proposition. I mean, I played just going back because this is most recent for me, but Destiny, I played probably about 1,500 hours, but I played that over seven plus years.
Damn, it's been out that long now.
it's been a lot. It's been a long time.
Anthem has come and gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, look, Dying Light, that's the big one. I think I was surprised when you said that it's before the big ones come out.
That's one of the big ones.
this is going to be being the first cab off the rank and getting gamers stuck into that, the ones who are curious. I think this is the beginning of that journey, and I think it's going to be a good one. To be honest, if I'm going to check out the recommendations for PC just to make sure that I'm in a good position to be able to play it with my current rig, but I will probably buy that when it comes out.
Yeah, and I would just say give Life is Strange as a call out. There's a reason why this game keeps on getting remastered, and you keep on seeing sequels for this game. It's a really good game, and especially now that it's remastered, it's even better. Like so much smoother. Yeah, so it's a game that you should definitely give a shot. If you're a fan of like those old Telltale games, but with additional twists to them and really bringing the feels to the table, and just really exploring people's mental states and feelings and some deeper like tones. That game is a great pickup.
Set the stage too. Like Life is Strange 1 laid out the field for more games like Tell Me Why, and the more recent Life is Strange release as well that came out last year. Those two, like they've just been getting better and better as time goes on. I would highly recommend it as well.
All right, so sounds good, definitely. So the main two games this week, Dying Light 2 and the other one, Life is Strange Remastered. I definitely
also Sherlock Holmes needs a shout out too. I've seen a lot of funny videos.
It's old, but yeah, I mean, if you want,
it's old, but it's hilarious. Like it's one of those like people that play the Nancy Drew games, or those games that kind of came from THQ back in the day. It's
I know what you're talking about.
You play it because you enjoy the little puzzle solving things that are in between it, but there are sometimes some moments where the graphical fidelity drops, or the characterization or the voice acting is just a little bit weird, and you're kind of like, okay. There's a strong community behind the Sherlock Holmes games, but it's good for a laugh. I'd recommend that one too, maybe.
All right, for sure, definitely. Okay, so now that we talked about what was coming out this week, I know next week is going to be much more. What are we playing?
Finest, I will give the floor to you. I have spoken enough about both of us in the last 15 minutes, I think.
No, I mean, I'm same thing as last week. I haven't had a ton of time this week, just with work and then not feeling well myself. But I've been playing Dead Cells. Just having pretty much a refresh on that game, new DLC, new weapons, them taking all those weapons from all the other roguelikes and roguelite games, and just really incorporating that it's a whole new game. It's so fresh. That game I can see myself playing for 1,500 hours and not being tired of it. Additionally, I been trying it on hard mode now. I've been activating those cells so I can play on harder difficulties, and I've been doing pretty good. So I'm able to get to the throne room and really experience that. But they've added so many like improvements and features. Like one of it's called like aspects, and I don't know at what point they added this into the game, but one of the aspects was any poison or toxicity or anything toxic gives me life. So, I usually didn't go through the sewers. Like that wasn't the route that I would usually take, which is the second biome. I would really usually go to the ramparts or, that direction and so forth. But with this, since it gives me life, I'm like, oh, let me pull this aspect, and then I'm going to go through the sewers, destroy down there, because I don't have to use my potions. Not that I necessarily would, but I don't have to be afraid or avoid, any toxic sludge or anything like that. So very much just like plowing through. Another aspect is you do extra damage with fire. So like any fire, you get like 100% bonus damage or 200% bonus damage, which is insane. But the one I've been using most is, and I don't even remember the name of it, but it's one aspect where you get to any extra light, any extra potions you have, you don't have to automatically drink it. Like you don't have to pull the trigger to drink it. It automatically refills your life when you die. So I think it's called the Yuri of Yagershrill or something like that, like where it brings you back from the dead. So that'll be automatically used once to keep you into the game. And then with that aspect, then your potions keep you alive until all your potions are completely used up. And it just takes, because the potions, it's that animation, that time it takes to stop, drink a potion. You can I've died so many times. So just being able to do that and the potions just automatically just jump into my life, I'm destroying now. And it's so great. The only thing is there is a negative about the aspects, and is that you can't collect sales after you beat the game. But
Oh,
so I mean that's totally fine. What were you gonna say something, Matt?
No, I thought you were talking about the buffs that you get after completing an area, and you can select up to 3.
Oh
But I
no.
guess I remember those now. These
Yeah.
aspects, they remove the ability to make progress in the roguelike aspect of the game, but
Mhm.
they're kind of like the skulls in Halo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. Except they're all buffs still. They're not so
There's
they're
no negatives,
there's
like
no
no
negatives.
confetti headshots, no this is
Mhm.
harder because you can't jump or whatever
Yeah, at
Halo
least not that
does.
I found yet, because they keep on. There was like only 3 in the beginning, and then there's like every time I've died, there's like been one added. So I don't know how many there are, but like so far, I think there's 6 that I have total, so that I can choose from at the very beginning of the game. So Dead Cells, love that game, excellent game. It was that or Hades, and Dead Cells won me over, but I'm gonna eventually go back to Hades some year after all these other games come out.
oh yes, for sure.
2022, year of the roguelike.
Yeah, 2022 year of the games. What you been playing, Matt?
I'm still stuck in God of War. Not
God of
stuck,
War.
still having a great time, but
Yeah,
it is
I see on the Discord when you're playing. Like,
yep. And it's look, I'm almost at the end.
mhm.
I've I'm just a little bit further away, like a few cutscenes to go, and then I'll finish the story, and then I've got to go back and clean out the rest. But I've been taking my time with it. I think I'm up to about 40 hours, maybe 45 with it. It's just a good time. Looks real good. Just rounding it out before maybe I pick up Dying Light this week and getting stuck into that. Haven't really played much else. I know I promised to play another game on Game Pass last week, but just haven't had the chance to get to it. Slow time for games, but
Yeah.
preserving that time for the coming month.
Oh yes, for
Yes.
sure, definitely. All right, so I picked up. Well, I've had this in a while. I just barely ripped it out the package. For those of you listening, I am holding up Assassin's Creed: The Ezio Collection for the PS4, and with backwards compatibility, I am playing it on the PS5, and it's it reminds me of why I really fell in love with the Assassin's Creed series back in the day. Just such a great game. I'm playing 2. I started with that one, and then um, I will probably move on to Brotherhood. I'm about an hour in right now, and I'm just getting to the good part now where it's just like I just got my blade and everything. I hadn't had really too much time to play, but it's just reliving that old adventure. Just a big thrill, and then who knows? Maybe I might eventually pick up some of the other Creed games after playing this one. Maybe give Valhalla another shot, which I don't think is really going to happen, or definitely Odyssey. I do want to. I've heard nothing but great things about Odyssey, so
Can I make a suggestion for you as
yes.
a as a an appreciator of the Assassin's Creed games and having participated in the majority of them thus far?
Hmm.
If you are going back to Assassin's Creed 2,
Hmm.
it's going to be very weird to jump back and forth between the different sides. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, skip Assassin's Creed 3. If you're curious, jump in and have a look. I think collectively, most people have said that wasn't necessarily the best.
Hmm.
You may get to the end of this current series from Assassin's Creed 2 and find that Revelations is a little bit lacking, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Revelations wasn't my favorite.
No, there's good bits of Ezio story
Mm,
in there, though. It does round it
yeah.
out quite well. If you haven't played Black Flag, I would give that a go because I
Hmm.
think that's one of the best ones. Whatever you do, don't play Rogue.
Rogue.
That interstitial game.
Mm.
The
I have
accents are terrible. Terrible accents. And then after that, pick the ones that you want to play. I thought Unity was quite good.
Okay.
You know, despite the graphical things that
Yeah,
it might
at a rough start. I have Unity in there.
It did, but it's actually quite a good game. It's the first proper one of those games that was just flooding the map with icons for you to do things, and then it kind of jumped off from there. Syndicate might be the next best one, but if there's any in there that you haven't played, I would work chronologically release time.
All right, for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Matt. And with that, I will definitely put the podcast in the books. If you've been watching or listening to the Game & Watch podcast, episode number 73, tune in next week for another episode for Matt, the educator, and Finest Stabs, aka RView Gaming. I'm Justin Reed, aka Too Tall for You Fool, saying thank you for listening, thank you for watching so long, and we will catch you on the next one. Later.
Peace out.